Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to talk about Golden Sun, the second book in the Red Rising series by Pierce Brown. So, as usual, we're going to talk non-spoilery thoughts and opinions up front and then move over to the spoiler section where we can talk in more detail. So, with that being said, remember to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, and let's begin. So, Golden Sun is the second book in the Red Rising series, and we continue to follow Darrow after he's left the Institute, and now he's fully ingratiated himself into Golden Society, and now he continues to try to claw himself up to the top so that he can get control of as much like arms and armament as possible so that he can incite this rebellion and basically free the Reds and take down all society. So, as we learned at the end of Red Rising, Darrow decided that the best way to further accomplish his goals to continue making progress is to accept the position that was offered to him by the man who's responsible for the death of his wife. So, it's literally killing him inside, but he decided he needs to take that position, and it continues to like basically the second stage of his training. So, the story starts off pretty much picking up where it left off, continuing to talk about so the story kind of picks up where it left off. It's a little bit of continuation of Darrow's training. They're in like the second phase where they basically all have spaceships and different fleets and things, and they have to fight. So instead of just so when I realized that was the setup, I kind of feared that it was going to be formulaic, like the first one is a little Hunger Games, we have this type of arena, and the second one is a different Hunger Games and we have a different type of arena, but it's just like starships or whatever. So I was kind of prepared for it and I was kind of okay with it. I was like, willing to grin and bear it, but I was going to be a little disappointed if that was the case. But luckily, Pierce completely subverted those expectations and took it in a totally different direction, which I think was just done so well. So let's start talking about some of the stuff I really liked about this. So as I was already starting to say, I really liked the fact that he subverted the expectation. I had an assumption as to where the story was going to go, and he completely went in a different direction, and I thought it was so well done. It was so, like, it was surprising, and it was, like, it made perfect sense, and it just kind of worked out so well, and I just was so happy that it didn't do what Hunger Games did, because I was still very much latched on to all the Hunger Games comparisons, even though there is some shades of Hunger Games, some Star Wars, some Dune, some Game of Thrones. There's a lot of mixture in here. They're either inspirations or these types of stories just, have commonalities that can't be avoided. So the writing style continues to be a big plus. So I really do like the first person and I like the present tense that Pierce uses here. So I continue to really enjoy the writing style. I really like this first person thing, and I really like the way Darrow. I really like the way Pierce is able to preserve some of his twists and his like big change ups that happens in the book. But even though I really do like the first person and all that stuff, it kind of is like one of my biggest pros and one of my biggest cons because on reflection, like in the moment while reading it, it's really awesome and I really like it and I'm fully into it. But upon reflection, it kind of falls apart a little bit. Like when I was talking about him preserving twists, some of the twists that he does use in this book that, we find out is something that it's hard to believe that Darrow wouldn't have thought of before it happened. So upon reflection, it kind of starts to fall apart a little bit. But in the moment, you don't think about it at all because the pace and the momentum of it is so well done. Like you kind of it just kind of washes over you a little bit. You don't think too much about it, or at least I didn't. So even though in hindsight it's a bit of a con, during the my actual experience with the book, it was very much a pro, and I was just impressed. I was literally impressed that I was able to be surprised by a twist so completely, even though it's coming from the person whose perspective I'm reading. So it was just well done, and I definitely commend him for being able to do that well. And apart from the writing style, I continue to really like the characterization. The characterizations have gotten deeper and cleaner, and as a result of having a solid body count like Pierce does in these books, he's able to consolidate the cast down to a more manageable number, so he can go really deep into the characterization and the character development for the remaining characters. And I feel like I just said character about a million times there, but It's done really really well here. Like Severo, like I said in the last review, Severo continues to be my favorite character, and like he gets even more development. He's more fun in this book, and just more stuff happens with him, and it's so much more fun. I'm so happy we got more of my little goblin. He's my favorite character. And I mentioned before, like the references to Hunger Games and Game of Thrones and Star Wars and stuff. Like some of the references, I mean, some of the inspiration is clear because Pierce pulls out a Star Wars reference early in the book. Like there's a situation where they're on the ships and stuff, and something's about to happen. Or no, actually, I think this is later. But anyway, there's a situation where they're on the ships, and he's talking to the captain, and the captain like says the odds are blah 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 blah, and Darrow goes, "Never tell me the odds." As soon as I read it front, I was like, "Yes!" I just cracked up so much. I thought it was brilliant. So I love that he is confident enough in what he's writing to throw in direct references like that because it's internally consistent with what he's doing, but it's also a great wink and a nod, and it's like not even subtle, so it's that much more fun. So let me end the non-spoilery section by saying I really, really recommend this book, the entire series. I like this book a lot better than the first one, surprisingly, and it just continues to get better. And I hope the next one gets better, and it just gets better and better and better because you know we all want that when we're reading a series, of course. Um, so yeah, I'm going to go ahead and end non-spoiler section. Let's jump over to spoilers. So spoilers for Golden Sun by Pierce Brown. So something that I wanted to say in the characterization part that I was talking about in the non-spoiler section, I kind of held it off for spoilers because I want to get into a little more detail to talk about it. So something that Pierce managed to do with Darrow that I love so much, that's got to be one of the huge pros that I have for this story, is that he took the dead wife trope and fixed it. So what I mean by that is typically in a story when the dead wife is the main motivator for the male protagonist, I don't think I've ever seen a dead wife for a female protagonist. That'd be interesting. I don't know. Maybe it's too tropey. I don't know. So typically, from what I've seen, when you have like a dead wife as the motivator for a protagonist, it's always like she becomes deified. Like she, this infallible memory of her and all this kind of stuff, and like he'll basically never take another woman again, like because it besmirches her honor and stuff like that, and it's just like she's put on this pedestal and becomes this deific figure, if I can even say the word right. She becomes like this figure and all this kind of stuff. So Pierce manages to allow Darrow to develop and evolve past his love for his first wife and his dedication to her cause and all this stuff that he's doing there, all of this for, and allow him to actually grow and develop and be able to like get with somebody else because he really likes Mustang. He actually falls in love with Mustang, and then he even has a little bit of a little flirtation thing with Titus. He was even like thinking about it and stuff there. And I love that he was able to do it like Pierce. I love that Pierce is able to add this to the story in such a way where it doesn't feel like the original wife is slighted, or the fact that she's the crux of his beginning motivation. Like that's none of that's taken away or anything like that. Like it's well done. It's done so well, and it's like morphing this romanticized thought of her into just like what she really was this spark of revolution. That's why like I wonder, and I kind of hope later he starts kind of associating her more with Persephone like everyone else does, more than just as his wife. And I just really like that he managed to do this because it's such a trope, and it's a lame trope, like fridging the girlfriend to motivate the male protagonist. It's such a it's antiquated and it's kind of lame, and everybody sees it coming from a mile away. So to use that as just a basic motivation is a very old trope, but he kind of he massages the junkiness of the trope by doing this, and I think he did it really really well, and I like it a lot. So this is another thing, like it's a pro-con mix thing. I'm going to talk a little bit more about what I was talking about in the non-spoiler section. So the twist that I'm talking about is there's a scenario where Darrow ends up in the duel against Cassius because of their blood feud from last season, from the last book. He ends up in the duel with them. So like there's a lot of build up to this duel. Like the Bologna family has been after him the entire time. They want his head. There is like it's basically shoot on sight. There's no quarter given at all, anything like this. Like they beat his ass and pissed on him and embarrassed him and destroyed his reputation, even though like he kind of cares about it but kind of doesn't really care about it. So like there's just all this tension and stuff built up to him and all this stuff, right? So when we get to the situation where they're actually going to throw it down, like where they're actually going to fight, like the whole thing, the entire scenario of it. So it's two twists, actually. So let me explain it better. There's two twists in this situation. So what happens is Darrow finds out, he gets back in contact with the Sons of Ares, and he finds out that the people he was talking to, Dancer and stuff, is like dead or whatever. He's actually not, but what happens is the Sons of Ares kind of splinter, and there's this other little faction within the group who gets in contact with Darrow first and tries to give him this other mission that's not exactly what Ares wanted him to do. So the mission was basically a suicide bomb attempt. They wanted Darrow to go into this gala with the Sovereign and like all the big wigs and all this stuff and literally blow himself up and kill all these people. And he was about to do it because at that moment he had found out that his dead wife was pregnant at the time. So the guy he works for not only killed his wife but killed his unborn child. And like he was just, lower than rock bottom. So he was basically ready to pull the cord and just go. So, but that was when Pierce kind of did the thing and kind of morphed the memory of his wife into this proper spark for rebellion. So he didn't do that, and he took it in a different direction. So he caused the situation that incited the duel to happen between him and Cassius right then. So it was basically, they leave the gala hall and all this stuff, and it's basically all set up outside or whatever, and they're about to go at it. And then the whole time, based on everything that's happened, right? The whole time, you're like, well, Darrow's going to lose because he's already fought against this guy, and he's been trained with his razor since birth. So, there's basically no way for him to close this gap in skill and ability and stuff. So you just know if they fight head to head, that there's no way Darrow can win. So, and there's nothing that we know to the contrary. But then as soon as they get into the fight, Darrow starts to think, oh, well, I got trained by Len-Al Arcus and stuff. And he's the most badass guy with the razor, in the last, however many decades or whatever. So now he's levels and leagues above Cassius, and the fight's going to be effortless. So while I thought that was a brilliant twist, and just the way it came about, and the way he let himself get beat a little bit, and then he started coming back at him, and then took his arm and stuff, it just was just being such a badass. I got so into it with the twist and the way everything was happening because of what was supposed to happen before. I was so into it. But then in hindsight, it falls apart a little bit, because when you start to think about everything that happened up until that point, up before that duel started, you're like, how is it that Darrow will be basically having all these thoughts of knowing that he's going to lose and that there's basically nothing he can do? How is he setting up all of this attitude, but he knows that he can beat him because he's trained by the best? So it's when you think about it, the logic of it falls apart. But as you're reading it, it's so fun and so enjoyable, you don't even care. So that's kind of what I was talking about in the non-spoiler section. Very long-winded explanation, but yeah, it's so it's very much I'm so severely of two minds about it, because I enjoyed it so thoroughly in the moment, but looking back at it, it's not totally internally consistent, and that's definitely just a hindrance of the writing style. I honestly couldn't imagine a different way to do it, so it is what it is, I guess. But apart from that little thing, another kind of con I have with the writing style is also a consequence of being first person like this. The big battle scenes, there's a lot of really great battle scenes in this book, and they're really cool. There's a part where where Darrow calls for an iron rain, which just sounds cool, and it's just the whole thing plays out so cool. But the issue that kind of crops up is that because it's first person and it's present tense, whatever Darrow isn't experiencing, you don't know anything about. So it's a huge battle. When they were fighting, going for Mars or whatever, it's a huge battle, and there's people in multiple locations and stuff. But Darrow is just with Severo and with Ragnar, and so we don't know what else happened. And I was really jazzed to find out, to see the whole battle, and because even where they landed, they didn't even get into the thick of it, really. I mean, granted, yes, it saved their lives, but I wanted more. It's kind of a consequence of not jumping POVs, not, being able to say what's going on with these characters, what's going on with them. So it's a consequence of the writing style. It's not necessarily the fault of Pierce. I mean, I guess it is because he chose his writing style, but whatever. But so I understand it, but it's dang, I really wanted more. So if this gets adapted into a TV show or movie or something like that, y'all better not skimp on those fight scenes, man, because, it's so good. It's so good. And this book has so many twists. This book has so many twists. There's multiple twists in it. Like the book basically starts off with a huge twist, and then like we got characters that are so unscrupulous. There's so many backstabbing moments and stuff in it. I really love it. It's like all the best stuff about Game of Thrones that everybody liked, and then like just stretched out and just added with some Star Wars with a little bit of Dune. It really is just a huge mix of all those things while being completely original. So it's just yeah, it's great. Um, but one thing that I really didn't care for is so there's actually a Red Wedding style betrayal that happens towards the end. And one of the issues I had with it, even though the entire sequence and everything that goes down is amazing and it's like holy shit, and like you literally want to just grab the next book and you just have to start reading. But like I'm gonna savor this experience. Like I want to savor this series, so I jumped right into Dune. So I haven't, so I haven't gone in the Morning Sun yet. I'm gonna let the hype for it marinate a little bit, but what happened was when the guy betrays him, there's little development for this character. Like I understood who the character was, and he's kind of familiar from the last book, but when all this stuff goes down, like I just can't help but notice it feels like this is a non-presence. You can start to smell when it's coming though. You can start to see all these clues because he makes a big point of trying to be more like friendly to this person because he wasn't being a good friend to him for a while. So like he's kind of almost haphazardly trying to repair that. But the thing is, this character has never really been shown to be duplicitous in this way. So when this happens, you're just kind of like, damn, like you see it coming because it's very obvious that it's coming because it's set up really nicely. But if you think about the character and what we know about this character, we don't really have anything we can say. We can point and say that this is likely to happen apart from the fact that he's a gold and that's just in their DNA to do something like that. So I guess that could just be the primary motivation entirely because he's a gold and golds are just, they're golds. they're golds. So something else that like I both liked but didn't like. It's so weird. Like all my pros have cons, but like it's much less coin flippy than sometimes. But it's I don't know, whatever. Another thing though that I had a little bit of issue with was kind of the way the pacing fell apart at the end. The entire book is a roller coaster ramping uphill, right? That's how the pacing kind of goes. You're just going up, but it's like actually that's probably because there's a lot that happens on the way up. So, but the momentum is very much carrying up to this last huge battle that happens, right? So when that battle happens, it feels like okay, the story's over. Like now we're have some cleanup conversation, a little epilogue, blah blah blah, and then we're done. And I'm like we're still going. I'm like there's still like I'm on the ebook like I still got pages like and it kind of confused me for a second. So the pace kind of fell apart because it felt like we had this huge cathartic moment and then we just kept going. It was like the epilogue just kept going. But the thing is everything that we got at that part in the book was awesome. It was really good stuff. It was a lot of fun. It was the biggest twist. It was where we get the Red Wedding stuff that happens, and like it kind of worked, and it works for the momentum to get me to want to desperately get into the third book, but it was kind of clunky. So it's so weird. It's like it's almost like Pearson knew he had to kind of make some little like some like smooth over some issues in order to make the cooler stuff work. I don't know how to explain it, but like there's some little clunky things in here, but overall this book is so good. I really can't recommend it enough. I like it a lot better than I like Red Rising, and I like that book a hell of a lot. So that's saying a lot to say a lot 15 times. I'm repeating a lot of words. So before I wrap this review up, I want to talk about the last thing or one of the last things that happens in the story, and just kind of like it leaves you on just this final gasp. And by the end of it, it's pretty crazy. It's one of the last twists in the book. So Darrow, before basically everything like the final plan, the final plan has been established, and he's about to go and enact it and stuff, but he can't get ready to go on this mission without going to go see his family again. So he goes back to see, he takes Mustang to Mars to go see his family back in the mines and stuff. And basically, it ends up in a situation where he has to confess everything to Mustang. I mean, he doesn't confess it to her. He just shows her a video of him being, you know, going through surgery and stuff. So this whole thing, like, so he kind of does it in a vaguely coward way. Like, he gives her the footage and then goes into his mom's house and, like, tell her, like, you know, come join me depending on your answer. Like, if you leave, then I'll know how you feel. But if you stay, you know, all that kind of thing. So in that moment, this is another thing Pierce did that was subverting expectations. Because in a situation like that, and every other time anything like that has ever happened, the girl always comes back and is like, oh, it doesn't matter, it's fine, we'll work it out, we'll deal with it, whatever, or at least have some sort of conversation, even if it's saying I can't deal with this and leave. But Mustang pieced out. She dipped. I was like, whoa, this is different. She left. So I'm like, okay, she left. She left her data pad here. She left, like, actually she didn't leave, but like when we thought she left, I was like, she knows she got this information. She gonna tell somebody. Like, it's just like she is a gold through and through. In the same way, like the character that did the Red Wedding betrayal, like I didn't see that coming from that character, but I was like, I guess ultimately they are a gold. So I was kind of feeling that same way about Mustang. I'm like, well, I guess she is ultimately a gold. And then like they had this conversation because she didn't actually leave, and then like they, you know, exchanged more truth and like had a conversation, and she was all, but she still left. And then like Ragnar and Severo, because they both know, like they was basically going to shoot her down. And so just that entire situation was also another reason why you just like, I gotta know what's going to happen. So it's really left in the air. We honestly don't know if she betrayed him or if she just needed to go and figure it out and, like, you know, wrap her head around it or something like that. We honestly don't know. So I'm assuming that's going to be a solid part of book 3. So I can't wait to get into that. But first, like I said, we're going to go through Dune first. So make sure you subscribe to the channel to catch that one when it comes. And definitely subscribe to the channel to make sure you catch my review for Morning Sun. So, yeah. So we're going to go ahead and wrap this review up here. So I want to say thank you again for watching the video. And remember to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. And are you reading Red Rising, the series? Have you read Golden Sun? Let me know in the comments down below. All right, I will talk to you all next time. Peace.